Hello. I think I'm gonna hold this because I don't know where my little styrofoam thing that goes around it, the little black thing. Yeah, I don't know where it is. Today, I am going to be talking about what I usually always talk about, which is me struggling to continue to make videos. And this is going to be a running theme, I feel, for like a couple of months, maybe more than a couple of months, because I'm battling mental illness and battling the world and my environment simultaneously. I have been struggling to figure out what I wanted to make a video about, what I wanted to talk about. I've made literally like 5 or 6 videos and was gonna edit them and post them, and then decided not to last minute and deleted everything and started all over. And it was mostly because I didn't really know what I wanted to talk about, but also because the things that would come out when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to talk about was just a little too emotional, in my opinion. It was too personal, too vulnerable in a way, and I just didn't want that to permanently be on the internet, a temporary emotion to be permanent. No thanks. I sat with myself today, actually, and yesterday, and just thought about, why haven't I gone for the things that I used to want to go for? Why haven't I been taking advantage of opportunities that I have, all the time and space that I have? And I couldn't come up with anything except fear. It's very unfortunate, but I am noticing a pattern in myself of just letting fear overcome me and disguising or pretending that it's not fear, pretending that it's me being careful, pretending that it's uninterest, or that it's I don't know, just anything but fear. And I mean, there are times where I can admit that I'm scared of something specific or scared of a specific outcome, for sure. But like, just having fear be the overall ruler of my life and my decisions, I have not come to that conclusion until yesterday. So yeah, that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about fear in general. I want to talk about my fear and how I feel like it has just ruined lots of experiences for me, and how I'm actively trying to get out of that. I feel like ever since I was little, I've always been afraid. I've always been scared of something, which is normal. Yes, we know. But like, I feel like fear has been a very big part of my life since I was little. When I was younger and we lived in Pennsylvania, I feel like my fear really drove me to put up with and accept treatments that I really shouldn't have been putting up with or accepting, because I had a very deep fear of not having friends, I guess, not being normal. And I had a fear of disappointing my mother, or being just a disappointment in general to the adults in my life. So I would just like have I would be two-faced, pretty much. I would put on for the children and put on for the adults. And and I actively did that. I consciously did that. I remember consciously making choices of, in certain situations where it is very clear that, I was just very afraid of disappointment, whether that be from my peers or from the adults in my life. And that's not to say that like children don't go through that. Every child probably does go through that. I'm just talking specifically about my situation and my relationship with fear. So I just felt like every time I met a new person or went to a new place, I would try to become a chameleon out of fear of being different, out of fear of being rejected, and ultimately being alone. Because I definitely did and still kind of do have abandonment issues from my father, shout out to him. And I just, I was just like, I have to make this work somehow, whatever it takes. And I would constantly sacrifice my own person to fit into these places or fit in with these people, or fit in because, I did that in elementary school. I did that in middle school like crazy. I did that in middle school. High school, I kind of started to develop a different fear. Well, I still had the same fear, but it started to show differently. Like, instead of conforming to my surroundings, I just blocked out my surroundings and kind of just was like, because it gets tiring. I was tired of being a chameleon. Like, it was exhausting to fit into every single box of every single person, and then I started to just not want to be around people at all. I wanted to just be by myself and do what I wanted to do. And I kind of became very defensive in that time, and just, I already don't like you before you don't like me kind of vibe. Towards the end, like junior, senior year, I became close with a couple of people, and, we hung out outside of school, and, it ended up becoming like a little bit of a pattern to hang out outside of school. They would come over to my house, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But then, you just kind of see people, you learn that, not everybody is your cup of tea, and you're not everybody's cup of tea, and you can't have the same friend for everything. And, I still had to learn that lesson in the way that I did. So that made me ultra super be like, oh, fuck everybody. Actually, I hate you all. And I will never make another friend in my life. And even though those friendships didn't even end in like on like a bad note or anything, it was just not what I was expecting. And once again, I felt like I was still conforming to a certain kind of person that I wasn't. And then as I started getting older and working and whatever, I started to notice that I have a really deep-rooted fear of failing, of just not being enough, not living up to expectations. I've always had just this thought that you had to know exactly what you wanted from a very young age, or like a really, really young age. Like, you had to know exactly what you wanted. You had to have this big dream that you started working at ever since you were young. This just innate talent that was inside of you that you just were honing in on, and that would be the only way that you would be successful, or truly be a master of anything, or even deserve to say that you are pursuing a dream. Because like, I just always felt like you can't really develop a dream while you're living already. Like, you had to kind of just have that dream since you were young, like, which is so stupid when I say it out loud, but that's just how I felt. Like, and when I put it into words like that, it's very limiting, and I didn't realize that, but that's just how I felt. Like, there was nothing that I feel like I was born to do. There's nothing that I feel like I always knew I wanted to do this. I always knew I wanted to do that. I never knew anything I wanted to do ever. I just found myself struggling because I knew I didn't have any innate desire or purpose that was just flowing through me, like, it's so dramatic, but I just was like, there's nothing I don't want for anything. So like, I guess this is just, my life is just gonna be like everybody else's life, and it's just gonna be whatever. And lately I've been noticing that I have a habit of preferring to be a support, or be the person that raises up the other people, or raises up a company or whatever, rather than give that same energy to myself or to my habits or whatever. Because I had this fear of going out and saying that I'm doing it for me, and that I'm pursuing these things for myself, and that this is my dream, and I'm reaching for the stars, and then I fail, or it doesn't turn out to be quite like I thought it would, or it's not as satisfying as I thought it would be. I'd rather go out and try and do these things under the protection of it being for somebody else and it not really working out, and I can say, well, I tried my best, than going out and doing the same for myself and then it not working out, and then me saying, oh, I tried my best, and then my best wasn't enough. Hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, For me, the fear of failing has been so great that I have been not trying at all. I've been stifling my own growth and my own, just like these possibilities. I haven't even been considering being successful because I'm just so scared that I'm gonna fail. I never even thought like there's a possibility that I shoot for this and it goes great. I just always think like, no, like I'm not that good. Like I'm okay, but I'm not that good for it to be like a hit or whatever it is I'm trying to do, because I don't even know what I'm referencing to, but you know what I mean. Honestly, right now as I'm speaking, I'm feeling and realizing that like you literally will always fail if you don't try. It's 100% fail rate if you don't even try, compared to what, like a 75% fail rate if you do try, like, which is something that I would prefer. Like, I'm literally failing right now just by not doing anything. You know, I would say that I don't want to be afraid of anything anymore. Like, I don't want to ever be scared. I want to be bold. I want to just shoot for everything and think about it later. But that's not realistic. Like, fear is there for a reason. It protects us in some way. So, like, it's like, that's not realistic. It's not as black and white as that. So, I think instead I will try to use my fear to push me to do better, to be better. Like the fear that I'm not living enough, the fear that like I'll never know if I don't try, the fear of being disappointed in myself in the end. You know, I have a lot to still discuss and still figure out with myself, for sure. I have so many different things and pieces of myself that I don't acknowledge because I'm just scared to go too deep and like break or never be able to come back. But we're talking about fighting and facing our fears here, so I am gonna be 100,000% transparent. This was a very hard video for me to make today. I didn't even want to get up at all today. I didn't want to talk at all, but I need to, because if I don't just push myself through these times, I don't think I'd ever do anything, quite honestly. And I think it's important to be transparent in these times because I want to be able to look back on this honestly, like when I'm in a better place and be able to say like, that's how I got to this good place, by just look at past me doing future me a favor. Love that. Also, just so that I feel like, you know, this is a cliche thing to say, everybody says it all the time, but I'm pretty sure there is somebody else out there who feels the same, who can see my video and who can understand exactly what I'm saying, which is something I love. I love when people understand me, but also they can feel understood and feel heard and feel seen and feel like, damn, like, okay, I'm not the only one. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for continuing to come back to my page and sitting with me throughout all of my different everything that I go through. I really appreciate you. Take care of yourself. Make sure you're talking to yourself in the mirror and you're reading your labels and you're washing your face in the morning and you're drinking water, and go outside and take a deep breath and sit in the sun. Do something to connect yourself to Mother Earth because you need it. Bye.